In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to create your day trading watch list. So in the previous lesson, I showed you how to create your swing trading watch list, which was pretty much look at the monthly, the weekly, and the daily, and look for the strategies, ABO, IBO, CBO, ACB on the higher time frames. Because we want to focus on a clean trend, a clean daily trend. And strategies are a great patterns that keep on repeating themselves over and over and over again. Hence why it's so easy to make your higher time frame watch list if you really understand what the strategies look like. It's the same thing for a day trading watch list. Now, the day trading watch list is a little bit different because unlike the swing watches that you only make once a week and then you plan your entire week, right? A day trading watch is you're making every single day because you're looking at the daily chart, the 4-hour chart, and the 1-hour chart. You're looking for a daily rejection, 1-hour trend change, right? Period. That's mainly what you're focusing on. And that changes every single day. I mean, we have a new daily candle every single day, right? So that's why, again, you make your watches every single day. A day trader makes their watches every single day, right? So that's kind of what you need to understand from a watch list creation point of view. A swing trader will sit down at the beginning of the week. Same thing as a hybrid trader. I will even recommend it to day traders straight up. You should kind of sit down at the beginning of the week, look at the higher time frames, just so you have a good understanding of what's happening in the higher time frames. Personally, I think everybody should do a higher time frame watch list. It will make your trading much better, right? But a day trading watch list, only day traders and hybrid traders need to do. Again, a hybrid personality, a hybrid trader personality does both, swing trades and day trades, right? So you're doing it all. That's kind of like the full-time trading, really, where you're trying to execute everywhere you can on those quick little pullbacks as a day trader and then catch those runs as a swing trader, right? So day trading watches is we're looking for those entries. We're looking for those entries on the lower time frames, daily, 4-hour, 1-hour specifically. That is the main focus. And that's kind of it. That's it for the intro. I'm going to keep it simple and I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the charts here to actually show you how I do this, how quickly do I go through it. So I'm going to do kind of a deeper scan with you, which is going to be a little bit different than the previous swing trading watch list. And again, just understand that this is how I do it, right? And after a while, you're going to get your own feel for the market and your own kind of system on how you scan the charts, how you categorize them, and so on. I'll show you a little bit about how I do it. But again, eventually you'll have your own personality, your own style that you'll, and your own way of doing watches that might make sense for you. But I mean, I've done this for a while. I think it's pretty optimized, so I'll show you again how I do it. Now, one thing that I want to specify is that I have my lower time frames here. Typically, when I make my watch list to be the most efficient, this is why a dual monitor setup is not a must, but it's a benefit, is I would typically put my higher time frames on this monitor. So as I'm scanning the charts, right, as a day trader or as a hybrid trader or even as a swing trader, right, really quickly I can be like, okay, this is what's happening in higher time frames, this is the lower time frame. Higher time frame, lower time frame, higher time frame, lower time frame, as I scan through the pairs. And one thing, which I get this question a lot, which I'm going to answer it right here real quick, is what do I focus on first? Do I focus on the higher time frames? Do I focus on the lower time frames? Here's the answer. If you prep yourself on the weekend, on a Sunday, if you do your higher time frame watch list, your swing watch list on a Sunday, you've already prepped your higher time frames. You already know what the best opportunities are on the higher time frames, period. So what is your main focus as a day trader? The lower time frames, 4-hour, 1-hour. You're looking for the strategies. So without the strategy, without an IBO pattern or without a CBO pattern, or without an ABO, I'm not taking the trade. There's nothing there. I'm moving on, right? So as a day trader, typically myself personally, to be the most efficient and the quickest, I look at the lower time frames. Is there a strategy there? No. Quick check there, move on. Is there a strategy? No. Quick check, move on. That's typically how I flow with it, and that's what I'll show you right now. So let's have a look at the charts. All right, so now that we're on the charts, I'm gonna quickly scan through and I'm gonna, again, do it at my pace, the way I typically do it, with a little bit more explanation. So you see how, again, I scan the charts. We're gonna start off on the top here, Aussie dollar. So again, one of the first things I look for is I look for the strategies, period, on the lower time frames, 4 hour, 1 hour. Now, like I said previously, I have the higher time frames right next to me, so you can quickly glance at them and see what's going on. For the purpose of this video, they'll be right here, okay? So as I scan through the charts right here, there's nothing. There's no IBO, there's no ABO, there's no CBO. Right here, potentially, if you look at the chart right there, right here, there could have been a CBO, but it never pulled back. Currently, we have nothing. We move on. AZCAD, same thing. This is very messy, very choppy, all over the place. We have nothing. I'm moving on. If we look at AZI Swiss as an example, again, very rangy, very choppy on this 4 hour time frame. Same thing on a 1 hour chart. There's absolutely nothing here at this point in time that I want to execute. Doesn't fit the patterns. I am moving on. Way too choppy. ASEAN, same thing. Check it out. You know, it's holding this 4 hour 50 EMA really, really well. So I can draw in a really quick trend line and right away say that, okay, this 4 hour 50 EMA is being respected until it breaks that 4 hour 50 in the trend line. At that point, there might be a CBO. At this point, there is nothing. I can quickly check the higher time frames. Would I even take that CBO? And I mean, there's a daily 50, there's a daily trend line. To me, the answer is no. I'd rather move on. So moving on. Again, I'm looking for perfection. I'm looking for clean patterns. So this has been in this trend for a while, but realistically, look at the 4 hour chart. It's been a massive run. So I mean, there could maybe be an ABO here, an advanced breakout, but check out that 1 hour 50 EMA. Look at it. It's been rejected this entire time as we were moving downwards. So doesn't make sense. Think about this. Doesn't make sense to take an advanced breakout, assuming the daily chart has something, which the daily chart doesn't have many major support in this region. In my opinion, it's lower, right? Potentially right here, we have some support on a daily chart. That would be ideal. So at this point, there's no advanced breakout here for me. I rather, seeing how well this 1 hour 50 EMA is being respected, I rather wait for the breakout and an IBO, period. You know, because at that point, once we get a breakout, then what was once great support becomes great resistance. So that would be an amazing IBO, but we don't have that yet. So moving on. I'll check on it tomorrow kind of thing, right? This is a daily watch list. Check it out. We got something here. So dollar CAD is pulling back, very deep pullback. It's an ACB, right? It's a big breakdown and a big pullback rejecting the 4 hour 50. But you look at the 1 hour chart and there is no pattern. There's no wedge, there's no double top, there's no continuation pattern to the downside. It's just a massive breakout. So okay, I can look at the higher time frames here. And right away we see it's rangy. It's rangy on a weekly, chopping consolidation on a monthly. Again, this range on a daily chart. So look, coming back here, sure, okay, it has a deep breakdown and a big pullback on a 4 hour chart, but it's not really giving us that rising wedge or double top just yet. So I might come back to this, but from an ACB point of view, the higher time frames aren't that great. You know, I think they could be a little bit better. So personally, I am moving on. So this is how quick I do my watch list. Right here, what do we got? So this is still in a bearish trend. It is not a CBO, it's not an IBO. Let's quickly look here. Very choppy on this daily chart, nothing there. So as a day trader, again, your main focus is daily, 4 hour, 1 hour. What is happening today, period? Not what's happening this week, not what's happening next week or next month. It's what is happening today, right? So here again, we have this big push to the downside, but there's no clear trend on these lower time frames. Again, it's rangy. So confirm with a daily. And the daily chart also was looking like a great CBO on a higher time frame, right? But at this point, it's very rangy and choppy over the last few weeks, mainly a few days. So from a day trading point of view, from a swing trading point of view, I want to go long. I'm mainly focusing on a long play here. I do not want to go short, right? So to me, there is no trade here. I am moving on. Dollar Swiss, pulling back, clear pullback to the 4-hour 50. I can draw in a potential trend line here. Let's see how it lines up on this 4-hour chart. And there it is. So trend line acting as resistance. 0.382 fib is still a little bit higher, but we do have this high test. Now, so this is kind of like an ACB pattern because again, it broke the 1-hour 50 EMA. But let's see, is there anything on the daily chart? So looking at the daily time frame, again, you have the same kind of trend line. And on the daily chart, you're coming back for a break and retest of this daily 50 EMA really quickly. Overall, it's rangy. You know, obviously we have support here and we got resistance above. It's been rangy this entire time. So what is the risk? The risk is this support. The risk is the choppy monthly chart and the monthly 50 EMA, which is in that same region. The weekly chart has also been choppy and consolidating over the last little bit. So the only benefit here is that we have this break and retest of the trend line and the daily 50 EMA, but we still have support, which is the risk. From a lower time frame, it looks clean on the 4-hour chart. Again, it still could go a little bit higher, but at this point, we're already rejecting pretty well. But from an ACB point of view, there's no pattern on the 1-hour chart yet, so it still needs more development because, I mean, I cannot draw a pattern here. Really, like there's nothing. So this would still need to develop a little bit more for me to consider this as an ACB, maybe a double top, right? And then at that point you'll be targeting the recent lows. But again, that's what I would need some kind of a pattern which still has not fully developed. It just had a clear breakup of that 1-hour 50. I need this to decelerate, slow down, give me a rising wedge, a flag, head and shoulder pattern, double tops, so on. It needs to, the trend on a 1-hour chart needs to decelerate for me to consider this as an ACB play to the downside. And when it does, then I need to look at this again and see if I'm comfortable with trading through this daily support. At this point, there's nothing there. It needs more development. So this is something like I could take a note here. ACB, development. And right away, okay, I know dollar Swiss might have an ACB developing. So I recommend you do something like that as well. If you notice an IBO, a CBO is happening or developing, you can take a note, ACB developing. Moving on, see what else we got. Check it out, Swiss yen, very clean breakout. It looks like a CBO, a potential CBO. Let's draw in our trend lines. Here we go, very clean breakdown. Let's draw in our Fibonacci. Might as well draw in potential extension. Here we go, 1-hour chart, same thing, very clean breakdown. Let's just do the same thing here. Fibonacci. I can also do Fibonacci extension just to plan some targets. Okay. So roughly, I think this could be a CBO. I mean, it could pull back to 1-hour 0.32 Fibonacci, which is also on the 4-hour. 1-hour 50 EMA by that time will catch up. It's also got the 4-hour 50 EMA, so this is a CBO. Now, okay, the pattern is here. It's a CBO on a lower time frame. But what about the daily? What does the daily have? And the question is, do I want to go short on this? So looking at my analysis here on the daily chart, this was kind of lining up for a potential IBO C because it rejected that weekly 50 EMA. So you can see that it's failing to go long. It's just failing to break out. It's failing to go higher up. So this higher time frame IBOC is struggling because of that weekly 50 EMA. It's struggling to go up. It's rejecting that weekly 50, which is again the risk with an IBOC. It's either the 4-hour 50 or from a swing point of view, it's the weekly 50. That's the risk. So that's obviously what we're rejecting here. And in this case, the weekly chart is also developing kind of a high test reversal to the downside with this strong bearish engulfing to the downside. Now, obviously, this is an IBOC on a higher time frame. So am I going to push this and target all the extreme lows? Well, because I see this as a potential IBOC, obviously it's rangy and choppy. Right? I'm not really looking for a long at this point, but it's still that pattern. the daily chart is still in a bullish trend, a potential bullish trend that is a little bit slow to break out because it doesn't want to break that weekly 50. But I don't know whether this would go all the way down to the lows. Maybe it could, right? But to me, that would be more discretionary. So from a day trader point of view, I think this could be a quick day trade, right? Where you take the trade somewhere here, you could target the previous lows, you have your stop at 0.618, 2020, 20 pip target roughly, or 25 pip target, 20 pip stop loss, and boom, that could be an easy one-to-one day trade if you wanted to. Because you do have that daily rejection of the previous highs with deceleration and a bearish engulfing. You do have weekly also 50 EMA acting as resistance, and you have a perfect pattern on a lower time frame, right? So I could do this, take a note, lower time frame, LTF, CBO, pullback, period. Lower time frame CBO pullback, versus this one was, let me just put it in, lower time frame ACB development. Sometimes you might see a pattern on a higher time frame. If you make your higher time frame watches, as an example, you could do like higher time frame IBO. And then when you notice a lower time frame setup, you would do a lower time frame IBO. So a lot of times you might make your higher time frame watch list and you will already have Aussie dollar higher time frame IBO, then Euro dollar higher time frame IBO, Euro Kiwi higher time frame CBO, dollar yen higher time frame ACB, as an example. They're from your higher time frame watch list. You can take a note, you can categorize them like this. And then eventually, once a lower time frame setup presents itself, then you do lower time frame SBO, swing breakout, lower time frame IBO, lower time frame ACB. And guess what? And when two line up, where you have a higher time frame IBO and a lower time frame IBO, as an example, that could be a really good trade, because that means that the higher time frames have a strategy and the lower time frames have a strategy. So you have multi-time frame analysis all the way from the monthly to the 1 hour, right? That is how I categorize my watch list, by the way. So as I make my weekly watches, I would go higher time frame, IBO, CBO, ACB, if there is one, right? If there is nothing, but there's a potential setup, I might do higher time frame, discretionary, like that, as an example. And then as I make my daily watch list, I will do the same thing, lower time frame, lower time frame, lower time frame, and sometimes they line up, higher time frame. Let's change it. Let's say it's a higher time frame CBO long. Okay, if you want to be a little bit more specific, you can toss an L in there, or an S for short. And then I could do, as I scan my lower time frame, all of a sudden, oh shit, there's a lower time frame SBO long. Guess what? I will be looking to execute this today, right? So that is, again, how I prep my watch list. Let's go a little bit longer. I just took some random notes here just so you kind of have an idea on how I do it. But let's go a little bit farther. So as an example, this would be like higher time frame. If I want to be specific, higher time frame pullback. So I would just do like higher time frame pull and lower time frame CBO. So I could remove this pullback because I already know it's a pullback in a higher time frame. That is typically how I would do it. Higher time frame pullback, lower time frame CBO. Moving on. Euro dollar, nothing here. It's already moving to the downside. No CBO, no IBO, none of that. Moving on. Euro CAD, same thing. We can see here, there's nothing really going on. No CBO, no IBO, no ACB. Doesn't fit the patterns. Moving on. Euro Swiss. This was a potential ACB, right? Check it out. Pullback to the 4-hour 50. Rejected the 4-hour 50 EMA with a high test. On the 1-hour time frame, was there a pattern? I mean, you can draw it in. And there was this squeeze that you developed. It wasn't the most perfect double top, but you did have a double top. Check it out. You have resistance in this area, previous lows, previous low, previous high, high. It is a pattern, it is a triangle. High test on a 4-hour, breakout right here. So this was a trade from yesterday. But let's see if there was anything on a higher time frame. And on a higher time frame, kind of discretionary, you have a little break and retest of the daily 50 EMA, a little bit. So the daily chart, I mean, to me, there's nothing here. It's a higher time frame discretionary, right? So as an example, if this was on watch yesterday, it would look something like this: higher time frame discretionary, because it doesn't fit any of the patterns. It's not really a pullback. It's kind of weird. Higher time frame discretionary, lower time frame ACB. So that means it's a quick day trade, So if you took this, it would be a simple trade. As an example, take it on the breakout, target the recent low, stop above the highs, something like that, roughly, approximation, quick in and out day trade. Moving on. Euro pound, nothing here. This is trending downwards, it's accelerating. If I look at the higher time frames, it just broke a major support level, so obviously nothing there. Moving on. Euro yen, potential CBO breakout. If I draw in a little triangle pattern right here, a trend line, fine tune a little bit. Here we go. Same thing on a 1 hour. And again, I do it sometimes through the lows of the candlesticks. A lot of times I'll draw in both and see which one fits better, open and close, or the extremes of the candle. I mean, both could look better. I mean, I think the open and close would line up a little bit better with the EMAs and so on. So I think that's a little bit more precise in this case. But again, it's a little bit personal discretion there. Draw in your Fibonacci, and you can see Fibonacci 0.382 is lining up. I can draw in my Fibonacci extension. Same thing, toss it in there. And right away, I have my potential targets. Now I just need to look at the higher time frame. So what is the higher time frame giving me? And I mean, this is a weird one. Let's check it out. Let me clean this up. It's my old analysis, old notes. Let's check this out. Negative is that we're obviously sitting at the daily 50 EMA. Let me make this larger. Because we had this breakout, the higher high, higher low. This was kind of an IBO on a higher time frame. And now this is strong bearish momentum, but we're already sitting at the daily 50. Daily support is nearby. This is a short, it's a discretionary, it's a higher time frame discretionary. There's not much here on this daily time frame, barely anything. So to me, there's just momentum. No major resistance, nothing like that. To me, there's just momentum. So if you're a discretionary trader, I mean, yeah, sure, this is a higher time frame discretionary. It's not the best, it's a higher time frame discretionary. Otherwise, I will put like a clean pullback, clean setup, whatever, or an IBO, a CBO, IBO pullback as an example. But in this case, it's a higher time frame discretionary because it's actually an IBO long. So sometimes I can also do higher time frame IBO long, okay? Lower time frame CBO short. So obviously there's a conflict here because I will be looking for a higher time from IBO long like I was a few weeks ago, okay? But in this case, it's a lower time from CBO short as well. It's both, because the higher time from IBO long is still active, right? It never broke down, it never failed yet, right? The IBO on a daily chart is still valid. The pattern itself is just choppy, it's very choppy, right? But the pattern is still valid. So in reality, we have a higher time from IBO long and a lower time from CBO short. Kind of weird, right? Which at that point, it means as long as you're happy with the daily momentum, this can be maybe a quick day trade again. No long term, because the higher time frames do not line up, but it could be a quick day trade. So 25 pip stop loss, you could have a 25 pip target for an easy 1-to-1. Boom. Quick 1-to-1 play if it presents a decent rejection. But personally, this is not more than that for me. Why? Because the higher time frames do not line up for anything beautiful to the downside. If anything, it's discretionary to the downside, right? So for me, anything that's sure I have the pattern on a lower time frame, I have some momentum on a daily chart. I don't have any crazy resistance, so it's kind of like okay. I mean, there is some resistance here. So if anything, if you wanted to take it, it's quick one-to-one. But I personally would still prefer a cleaner, higher time frame. I'm already sitting at the daily 50. I'm already sitting at support. This to me is like, okay, personally, I would really move on. I wouldn't even put this on my list personally, right? Because the higher time frame is not good enough for me to take this as a quick one-to-one, period. It's already sitting at support. So a lot of times I would just take this and put it on kind of my secondary list, so I could put this down as, if you want to, it really depends on how you want to organize it. A lot of times I do folders like this as an example. That's the beauty with eSignal, is I can do like good folder, and if I have a good setup as an example, I can drag this to there, right? I can also do, as an example, secondary folder, and this would fall under my secondary folder. It's not something I'm crazy about. I think there might be an opportunity here for a quick one-to-one if it looks decent, but it's on my secondary because this daily chart sitting at support, period, right? So moving on. So this is kind of how I could do it. You could also do, obviously, dev for like development, so higher time from development, it was this ACB. Lower time from ACB, development. It was this pattern, if you don't remember, right? I need to see a double top on this 1 hour chart or something, some kind of a pattern to actually execute a short. So this is how I categorize a lot of times. I separate into good, secondary, development. Good means that everything's lining up. The higher time frames are lining up, the lower time frames are lining up, The secondary is like, okay, I see a setup, but it's sitting on this daily support level. It's not optimal. It's not great, right? The lower time frames are good, but the higher time frames are sitting at support. So secondary, right? And then I move on. So that's typically how I organize. Let's just jump through a little bit. Nothing here. Check it out. It's still in a bullish trend on both time frames, 4 hour, 1 hour, moving on. Pound CAD, same thing, moving on. Pound Swiss, same thing, nothing there, moving on. Pound Yen, same thing, nothing there yet, moving on. Again, I'm going to check this tomorrow, so there'll be more development by tomorrow. But at this point, Pound Kiwi, nothing there, very choppy, moving on. Dollar Yen, nothing there on the lower time frames at this point in time, moving on. And again, I'm looking for strategies. Kiwi dollar. This might have like a clean ABO, but do we have any resistance? We got the weekly 50. So I might put this down. It's not developed yet as an example. I don't have a pattern, but look at that MACD divergence on a 1 hour chart, right? Look how overextended that 4 hour chart is. So I think this could be something. Maybe it's sitting at the weekly 50 EMA, right? And the weekly 50 EMA in general has been all right in the recent trend. So there might be kind of like a quick pullback ABO, advanced breakout, targeting the 4 hour 50 EMA. So as an example, this would be higher time frame pullback. Right, it's not discretionary. There's some resistance there. There's the weekly 50, right? Higher time frame pullback, lower time frame ABO short. Okay, I can do a higher time frame pullback short as well, just so we know. I mean, the more specific you can be, the quicker it is. So this is typically how specific I am. Higher time frame pullback short, lower time frame ABO short. This is still waiting for development, right? Waiting for a little bit more of a pattern, a little bit more of a candlestick formation. So you can either do that, or because, who knows, you think this might be happening today, so then you can move it up to good to go, and you just wait for the pattern to complete itself, for the candlestick formation to show up, and so on. At this point, this needs to be cleaned up, looks like this, and you'll be looking for a daily pullback. Now we don't have much resistance here. That's the negative, horizontal resistance. There's not much, you know, so there's support here, but that's about it. There's no major resistance there except the weekly 50 EMA. So maybe there could be a quick little dip if you wanted to, but for an ABO, preferably, a lot of the times I still like to have some good resistance, which, I mean, there's not much. A little bit higher above too. Previous low, previous low, previous low, previous high. So I have more resistance at a little bit higher up, but here not much. So looking at the higher time frames, is this a great trade or is this more secondary? I think there could be better resistance, so I toss it on secondary. There might be something there, it might look clean. Let's see what happens. And I move on, right? So again, that's how I do it. That's how I scan through charts. I look for patterns and I categorize them nicely. I take a note of what I'm looking for. Is it a higher time from IBO, lower time from CBO kind of thing, and I move on. Let's finish off here with a few other ones. Dollar yen, nothing here. Moving on real quick. So it was a Kiwi dollar, now Kiwi CAD, nothing here. No pattern, no deceleration, no wedge like we had with Kiwi dollar, right? Kiwi dollar was developing more of a wedge, hence why this might be an ABO. The Kiwi CAD, no wedge. If I look at the higher time frame, there's the weekly 50 there. It's kind of the same idea. There's some resistance in that region, right? That's just been broken to the upside. But no wedge, nothing here yet. So I might come back to this tomorrow. Moving on, Kiwi Swiss, and we're almost done. Same thing, very extended. It's at the weekly 50. There's a little bit of resistance on a weekly chart. On a daily time frame, I mean, you could potentially have some resistance here. Previous low, previous high, previous low, which is kind of where price action is sitting at. And we can zoom out farther, see, is this actually a decent level farther out? And I mean, we have a few rejections overall. So I mean, that could be resistance, right? Which lines up with the weekly 50 EMA period. So it's kind of it's a daily pullback, if anything, right? Because momentum at this point is bullish at this point. But no wedge, no pattern, nothing here yet. You know, no triangle, none of that. So if anything, you could put this as wait for development, or you can just come back tomorrow. Up to you. I'll come back tomorrow. I don't need to look at this today. It needs more development. I'll come back tomorrow. And the thing is, if you miss an ABO, guess what there'll be? An IBO right after. So Kiwi yen, check it out. This is different now. This is more of a triangle pattern. So right away, see, it's like when you're good, when you've done this for a while, and you have the experience, the chart experience, you can draw in these triangles, right? You already know what the patterns look like. You can draw in what you think looks better to you. So there's a triangle pattern here, obviously, right? On the 1 hour chart. There's some bearish MACD on a 1 hour time frame. 4 hour chart is massively overextended. So I can draw in a little phase line there as well if I wanted to. Looks like that. Now, do we have daily resistance? What do we got there? We got the daily 50 EMA, just like the other ones. Or sorry, the weekly 50 EMA, just like with the other ones. But we don't have much more. I mean, weekly trend line, let's see. Not really. What about connecting open and close? Right, that's why I do both. Or sorry, the extreme highs. And extreme highs hits. So we have a trend line rejecting extreme highs on a weekly chart. Let's toss the same trend line on a daily, see how it lines up. And yeah, see, precision, a little bit off still. What if we connect the open and close? And that looks a little bit better. Okay, so that's the trend line. There it is. So we got a little bit of a trend line resistance. Horizontal, let's have a look. Anything in this area? Not recently. Recent resistance is higher. Check it out. Check how beautiful the support and resistance here is in this region. That's obviously higher up. There's not much there. Weekly chart. Again, not much here except this area. which is this little low. Other than that, we had the support that was rejected previously. So from a resistance point of view, I mean, there's one potential hit, but not even. So we don't have much resistance except the weekly 50 and the daily trend line. So you could potentially take an ABO there if you wanted to. Personally, with advanced breakouts, again, I look for really strong patterns, really strong resistance on a higher time frame. In this case, it's up to you. I mean, you have the weekly 50 and the trend line. I like to toss it in with some really strong horizontal level as well. But the trend line and the weekly 50 might be enough for you. It is resistance, period, right? So if you wanted to execute this, obviously you're waiting for the pattern to develop fully. As an advanced breakout, you're entering at the highs, meaning you have some kind of reversal candlestick. So you'll be looking to enter somewhere at the highs, targeting. This is a quick little pullback on a daily chart, right? It's not with the trend, it's against the trend. So you'll be targeting roughly a nice stop loss, 20 pips. You could get a 3-2-1 if, depending on your entry. You know, I'm saying I would like to enter at the highs because at this point I don't have any candlestick formation down here. The pattern is still completing at the high. So imagine goes up higher, forms a nice strong high test, momentum to the downside, which we don't have at this point. Volume is low, you know, there's no candlestick formation. It's not an ABO just yet, but it might be. And then you target the daily 50. So this is like, if I go to the notes, higher time frame, pullback, short, lower time frame, ABO, short. And because I'm not a big fan of the higher time frame resistance, I put this on my secondary. Some of you might like the higher time frame resistance, so you might toss it into good to go. And that is how I make my daily watches. That's also how I categorize my swing watches, which I didn't put in the other lesson, which is categorized like this: good to go, secondary, development, and then I take notes. Higher time frame, discretionary, higher time frame pullback, higher time frame IBO, and so on. So that is it. Let me jump back to the camera to finish this lesson off. So that is it. That is how you make your daily watches. So you saw that I go through it pretty quickly. If there's nothing clean on those lower time frames, it's the same thing for the higher time frames, right? Because I'm so used to seeing an IBO, CBO, ABO, ACB, I know what those patterns look like. I know the characteristics of them so well, so that when I scan through my watches, watches like this typically takes me about 15 minutes, unless there's a lot of opportunities and I have to analyze all of them, plan, and so on. But if there's only a few opportunities, it typically takes me about 15 minutes to do. Obviously, this was a little bit longer just because I was explaining and showing and teaching. But once you understand the patterns, once you get enough chart exposure, you will get faster and faster and faster. The first time around, it might take you an hour to do a daily watch list. But after a while, like literally, I can say here that right now it takes me about 15 minutes to do my daily watches, sometimes even quicker, because I'm just going through it quickly, one by one, and I focus, if it's my daily watches, I focus on the lower time frames first, as you saw, because I'm looking for, is there an ABO, is there an IBO, is there a CBO on a lower time frame? Because guess what? I've already made my higher time frame watches on Sunday. So I know what the best opportunities are on the higher time frames. And chances are, as you saw how I categorize them, based on my higher time frame watch list, my swing watch list, I would already have higher time frame IBO, higher time frame CBO, higher time frame ACB. I would already have my patterns, my setups, my pairs categorized, and I would have the notes right beside them. So I would already know, as I'm making my daily watches, I already know, okay, this has a higher time frame IBO. Let's see if there's an entry here. Nothing yet today, moving on, right? Oh shit, this one's got a higher time frame CBO, and there's a higher time frame CBO on a lower time frame. They're both long. Guess what? I'm looking to take that today, right? So it's all about prep. Watch list creation is all about preparation. So if you do your higher time frame watch list on a Sunday and you spend good amount of time to really clean up your charts, make a good watch list, and you put those notes right beside, so you know, okay, this is a higher time frame IBO developing. Okay, so you're waiting for a higher time frame IBO or a higher time frame pullback, meaning that there's a pullback on higher time frames. So as you make your lower time frames, you already know what's happening on the higher time frames because you made those notes, you're already prepared. So then you're just, again, looking for lower time from IBO, lower time from CBO, lower time from ABO. That's what you're looking for. And again, you take a note. And it's really good when, again, I have in my notes as an example, when it lines up, higher time from IBO, lower time frame, SBO, swing breakout. Guess what? I'm looking to take that today, right? Because it's there, it's already present. Otherwise, I would just have higher time from IBO. That's it, you know? So that's some tips. Obviously, you're gonna find your own way that works really well for you of categorizing your pairs and your watch list and so on. I would sit down. Some of you might prefer to write it down on a piece of paper. You know, when you make your swing watch list, you can write it down on a piece of paper. Advanced breakout on, or dollar yen advanced breakout kind of thing, or whatever it is that you want to do. The clearer you are, the more prepped you are, the faster it will be and the better trader you will be at the end of the day, right? So I like to prep it based on categories: good, secondary, developing, right? And then I like to prep it by taking notes: higher time from IBO and then lower time from CBO kind of thing. And sometimes I don't have anything on a higher time frame, so I put higher time from discretionary, lower time from ABO as an example, right? And if I don't have anything on a higher time frame, then chances are that's going on my secondary list. If something beautiful pops up, I might take it, kind of thing. If it's on my good list, I am taking it. I'm just waiting for the trade to happen, right? So that's how I like to categorize it. With TradingView as an example, you can use little color tabs or stickers, whatever you want to call them, right? You might also use like a notepad on your desktop computer where you take those notes. You might even want to take those notes on the chart. You might write it down on the chart, higher time from IBO as an example, right? Wherever you take the notes, whether it's in eSignal like I do, whether it's color coding it in TradingView, whether it's writing it on a chart or writing down on a piece of paper, just find a way that works for you and do that. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you some clarity on how to make your watches, how to prep your charts, both from the day trading point of view and the swing trading point of view. When you do them together, when you're prepped on both sides, you're going to be a really good trader and you're going to be prepared. You're going to know what are the best opportunities happening for that week, and then you're just waiting. And as a day trader, you're just looking for those quick opportunities, quick one-to-ones on pullbacks. And as a hybrid trader, you're looking for both those swing trades and those day trades, so you can catch those beautiful long-term opportunities and the small pullbacks in the meantime as well. Hope that makes sense. Hope you're not confused. You might want to watch this a few times, but after going through all the lessons and so on, I think this should all make sense. And again, watch it a few times if it doesn't. But that is it. Hope you enjoyed this lesson and the last one as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.